Have you ever wondered what happens to an empath after they have absorbed all the darkness of the narcissist and still survived? They are no longer the fragile soul they once were, no longer a mirror that others can manipulate. Survival itself becomes a metamorphosis, the birth of someone new, deeper, stronger, and far more dangerous to those who only know how to hide behind a mask. Do narcissists tremble at your tears? Number. Do they fear your anger? Not at all. But when you rise, carrying the light forged through suffering, they know the game is over. And that is when the truth is revealed. The empath is no longer prey. They become living proof of a power the narcissist can never reach. In today's video, who the empath becomes after absorbing the narcissist's darkness and surviving, I invite you to join me in exploring the journey of transforming pain into strength and turning darkness into light. Don't forget to hit subscribe and stay until the end, because what you're about to hear may change the way you see yourself and the way you see those who once caused you pain. My dear friend, to understand who the empath becomes after stepping out of the narcissist's darkness, we must face a hard truth. The narcissist never loved you. They only loved the power they gained when they made you doubt yourself. They used your gentleness as fuel, your compassion as chains. And every time you forgave them, they didn't see love. They saw another chance to drain your soul. But what they never expected was the moment you fell. Not a collapse into despair, but a breaking open that revealed a new self. When you rose from those ashes, you were no longer the same. You had walked through the death of who you once were and been reborn into someone more resilient. Think of it this way: the one who once absorbed lies, blame, and humiliation suddenly no longer reacts. The one who once suffered in silence now turns that silence into a declaration: I no longer belong to this game. That is the moment the power shifts, and the narcissist knows they have lost you forever. The empath who survives is no longer fragile. They become someone who can see through the mask. They no longer fall for empty promises, nor tremble when the narcissist disappears and returns. Their eyes now carry a new weight, the gaze of someone who has faced the abyss and come back with light. When you survive, you don't carry only empathy. You carry the wisdom of the darkness, something only those who have been swallowed by it can truly understand. You can sense deceit in the smallest details. You know the difference between love and manipulation. You can touch another's pain without letting it pull you into the pit. And here lies the most important truth. The one who has survived a narcissist no longer seeks love at any cost. They seek truth, peace, and above all, they find themselves. My friend, stepping out of the narcissist's darkness is not only about leaving a toxic relationship. It is a spiritual transformation, a trial that forces you to shed the old skin and be reborn into a version of yourself you never thought possible. While trapped in that cycle, the empath was like a vessel. They carried the rage, the shame, the insecurity the narcissist would never face. They became the mirror that absorbed all the shadows while suffocating inside. At times you may have thought you'd lost yourself. You asked, am I really this weak? Am I losing my mind? But the truth is that confusion was not madness. It was a sign you were in the middle of an inner war, your soul being tested to its limits. And then the most painful moment becomes the turning point. For when you are pushed into the deepest abyss, you discover you can still rise. With nothing left to lose, you begin to reclaim the only thing that remains you. What the narcissist never understands is this: while they thought they were breaking you, they were actually forging you into something stronger. Just as steel hardens in fire, the empath grows unshakable only after enduring the storm of deceit and manipulation. After survival, the empath no longer loves blindly. Their love is no longer naive, no longer unconditional to the point of self-destruction. They know how to set boundaries, how to say no, and they understand that compassion does not mean endless sacrifice. Someone who has drowned in pain can become the one who sees truth more clearly than anyone. You are no longer easily swayed by sweet words. You no longer need to prove your worth through another's validation. Instead, you learn to validate yourself. And when the empath awakens, they become what the narcissist fears most, a soul no longer dependent. The narcissist needs your tears, your pleading, your struggle for that is how they feel powerful. But when you go silent, when you reclaim your energy to nourish yourself, they lose their stage. And for someone who lives off illusions, losing their audience means losing everything. The one once suppressed has now become the observer, the discerner of truth from lies, of light from shadow. They no longer need to prove they are worthy because they finally understand their worth was never defined by anyone else's gaze. What the empath gains after this painful journey is clarity. A clarity not only to protect themselves, but also to become a source of inspiration for others. Because when you have fallen into the abyss and returned, you carry more than scars, you carry a fire, a flame that lights the way for those still lost. Imagine looking into the mirror after all the wounds. The face may bear lines of fatigue. The eyes may have once brimmed with tears, but behind them you see another light. The light of truth, of newfound dignity, of freedom that cannot be taken away. The one who survives a narcissist never returns the same. They emerge with eyes that have seen through lies, ears that have heard enough empty promises, and a heart once shattered but now beating stronger than ever. They understand that love is never an excuse to lower themselves. That forgiveness does not mean continuing the cycle. That kindness only holds its true value when it walks hand in hand with wisdom. The empath reborn is no longer a victim. They become living proof of a profound truth. You can walk through the darkness, and you will not only survive, you can become the light. And if you are hearing these words today, remember, you are not alone. Every scar on your soul is not a mark of weakness, but evidence of strength. This very journey has reshaped you into someone new, someone who is no longer controlled, no longer suffocated, no longer reduced to being the mirror of another's shadow. Now, you walk with a peace no narcissist can touch. You love without losing yourself. You open your heart without letting anyone cross the boundary of respect. You remain gentle, but it is the gentleness of a warrior who knows their worth. And that is precisely what makes you the narcissist's worst nightmare, an empath who has been reborn. You see, there is something strange about the survivor's path. Empaths often pass through a stage outsiders cannot understand, the stage of confusion. That moment when everything collapses, trust, love, patience reduced to ashes. You wake each morning asking, who am I, when I am no longer tied to them? The narcissist had occupied too much space in your mind. They made you forget what you once loved, what you once dreamed, how you once wanted to live. So when you first escape, the initial feeling isn't freedom, it's emptiness. Yet that emptiness becomes fertile ground for new seeds. In the stillness, you begin to hear yourself. The small whisper once buried beneath criticism now speaks clearly. I deserve peace. I deserve love that doesn't cost me my soul. From there, a deep shift begins. You realize that what once broke you also taught you. Betrayal taught you to discern real love from illusion. Manipulation taught you to see the power games behind sweet words, and heartbreak taught you how to rise from your own fragments. People often assume that empaths, after being shattered by narcissists, will always remain fragile, but the truth is the opposite. When you survive, you become so clear-eyed that narcissists can no longer bear your gaze, because that gaze no longer pleads, no longer clings. It is the gaze of someone who has faced the abyss, been suffocated and still exists. That very existence becomes proof of unimaginable strength. You begin to rebuild yourself from small things, a forgotten hobby, a self-care habit, a circle of genuine friends. Every small act, every simple choice becomes a brick in the foundation of a new life, one that no longer trembles at deceit. And then the most important change arrives. You learn to love without losing yourself. Love is no longer endless sacrifice. Love is no longer carrying all of another's pain. You know how to give, but also how to keep what belongs to you. You understand that kindness needs no proof, and that silence can sometimes be the most powerful language. When an empath steps out of the darkness, they carry two gifts, gentleness and firmness. Gentleness keeps their heart alive. Firmness keeps them from returning to old paths. They become a new kind of human, no longer easily manipulated, no longer lost in illusions, but someone who knows their true worth. This is what terrifies the narcissist more than anything else. Their power exists only as long as you believe in the illusion. Once you see the truth, their game collapses. They may pretend to be weak, offer promises, even return with tears, but all of it is meaningless when you have clarity. And this is the moment when the empath truly matures. You don't need revenge, you don't need to prove yourself, you only need to live authentically. Every day you live in peace, it becomes a powerful declaration. I am free from the cycle, and I will never return. They say light is only beautiful after it has passed through darkness, and the empath is the living proof. The darkness once swallowed you, but it is precisely what made you shine. You have become a lamp not only for yourself, but for anyone still trapped in the storm. If you are listening today, remember, you are not just a survivor, you are a rebirth. You carry within you the ability to turn pain into strength, loss into wisdom, and silence into freedom. The narcissist may have taken much from you, but they can never take away this truth. You have returned stronger, clearer, and freer than ever. There is a truth few will tell you. After breaking free from the narcissist, the empath's journey does not end with survival. Escaping is only the first step. The hardest part is learning how to live again, but as a different version of yourself. In the early days, the memory of manipulation still lingers. You may still hear their voice echoing in your mind. You're not good enough. No one will ever love you but me. You're the cause of everything. Those ghostly whispers make you doubt yourself, even though deep down you know the truth lies elsewhere. But understand this, it is not your failure. It is only the residue of old chains, and step by step you will shake them off. When the empath begins to look deeper within, something miraculous happens. They no longer see themselves as a victim, but as someone reborn through trial. The pain they once endured becomes wisdom. The loneliness they once suffered becomes strength. And the betrayal they once tasted becomes new eyes, helping them see human nature clearly. You see, no one can detect subtle deception better than someone who has been deceived. No one can notice the smallest manipulative cues better than someone who was once trapped in them. And no one can love more consciously, more deeply, more powerfully than someone who once lost themselves in love, then found themselves again. An empath who survives is no longer easily trusting. But this lack of blind trust does not make them cold. It makes them emotionally intelligent. They still open their heart, but they choose carefully. They still love, but they no longer agree to pay the price of self-destruction. What the narcissist hates most is this new freedom. Once they held the reins of your emotions. With just a text, a silence, a criticism, they could make you tremble. But now, you no longer react. You no longer play the game. You observe, you smile, and you keep your peace. And in that moment, their power collapses. Remember, narcissists are never afraid of your tears, your anger, or your reproaches. They feed on those reactions. What they truly fear is conscious silence. The silence of someone who has awakened. Silence not born of weakness, but of no longer needing to respond. The reborn empath carries another gift, mature compassion. Once, you could empathize to the point of hurting yourself. But now, your compassion has grown wings. It knows how to fly far, but also how to stop at safe boundaries. You can understand another's pain without making it your responsibility. And that is the most important transformation. You have become someone new, no longer a mirror reflecting others' darkness, but a lamp shining for yourself and for those truly worthy. And then, one day, you'll be surprised to realize you no longer hate the narcissist. Not because you forgive them, but because you no longer need to hold them in your mind. They become a closed chapter. A memory that may remind you, but no longer defines you. This is the ultimate victory. You are not only free on the outside, you are free on the inside. You are no longer a prisoner of pain. You have become free within both light and shadow. And if there is one message for anyone hearing this story, it is this. Surviving a narcissist is not the end, it is the beginning. The beginning of a new journey where you learn to turn ashes into gold, loss into strength, and wounds into symbols of growth. You are no longer just an empath. You have become someone who knows the darkness, yet still chooses the light. And that is a power no narcissist can ever touch. There is a moment every survivor of narcissistic pain will recognize. The moment you look at yourself in the mirror and see different eyes. No longer the eyes of someone terrified of abandonment. No longer the eyes of someone desperate to be loved. Instead, the gaze is steady, sharp, and warm. The gaze of a soul that has walked through hell and found the way out. What outsiders don't understand is that this rebirth is not easy. It doesn't come simply because you left the narcissist. It comes after countless sleepless nights, after tears you never dared let anyone see, after the times you asked yourself if you had any worth left at all. Those very moments forged who you are today. The empath who survives carries two energies that seem opposite, a heart still capable of feeling, and a mind that has learned to stay awake. The heart allows them to love again. The mind protects them from ever losing themselves again. This balance is proof that they have grown more than anyone could imagine. Once you've walked through darkness, you begin to realize that true strength is not in pleasing others, it is in being true to yourself. You learn to say no without guilt. You learn to walk away without explanation. You learn to be silent without feeling weak. And these are the very things that strip the narcissist of control. They may try to return. They may pretend to regret. They may play the victim to trigger your compassion. But you have changed. You no longer drown in false tears. You observe with eyes that have seen the root of deception. You no longer react immediately. You no longer rush to rescue anyone. You simply stand there calm and clear. And that clarity is the fortress they cannot break. People often ask, what makes an empath truly victorious? The answer is not revenge. It is not proving to the narcissist that they were wrong. The answer is inner peace. When you can sleep soundly each night without needing anyone's approval. When you can smile even with no one by your side. When you feel whole simply because you still have yourself, that is the real victory. And then you begin to realize that everything that happened, no matter how painful, carries meaning. It does not define you as a victim, but shapes you into the keeper of the wisdom of darkness. You no longer seek darkness, but you are no longer afraid of it. You can walk into it, look straight at it, and still preserve your inner light. From here, the empath no longer lives only for themselves. Their rebirth becomes a source of inspiration for others. You may not notice it, but when you stand firm, when you dare to live authentically, that light radiates outward. It touches those who are still lost, giving them hope that they too can rise. What the narcissist will never understand is this: they have unintentionally become the cruel teacher on your journey. Without them, you might never have discovered the true strength hidden within you. They tried to crush you, but instead they forged you into steel. They tried to extinguish your light, but instead they made it blaze brighter than ever. And in the end, you realize you don't need hatred. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You only need to live fully, freely, and true to your real values. Every peaceful step you take is already a powerful declaration. You have won. When the survival journey reaches its end, the empath discovers a profound truth. The darkness does not vanish the moment you leave the narcissist. It lingers in memories, in the echoes of lies, in nights when you suddenly doubt yourself, but now you are different. You are no longer consumed by it. You look directly into that darkness and say, "You no longer own me." The truth is, wounds never disappear completely, but instead of being burdens, they become marks. Like scars, they remind you that you were once hurt, but they also remind you that you healed. Scars are not ugly. They are monuments of strength. They tell the story of how you once fell but stood back up. This is the greatest turning point. You no longer define yourself by pain. You define yourself by transformation. Others may see that you were once broken, but you know that from those ashes, a new self has been born stronger, clearer, and more whole. At this stage, the empath enters a rare maturity, where empathy is no longer naive, but has become wisdom. They can listen to others' pain without losing themselves in it. They can love without blindness. They can sacrifice, but never to the point of self-destruction. People often ask, after all of this, who does the empath become? The answer is, they become someone who can hold both light and darkness within. They do not deny the shadow they endured, nor cling only to the light. They accept both, and that acceptance itself creates true freedom. You see, freedom is not the absence of pain. Freedom is when you can feel pain without collapsing. Freedom is not the absence of fear. Freedom is when you know fear will come, but choose not to let it control you. Freedom is not a perfect life. Freedom is being able to live truthfully, with flaws, with scars, and still hold your head high. And this freedom is something the narcissist can never touch. They may pretend to be powerful, they may wear the mask of dominance, but deep down they remain trapped in their own emptiness. While you, the one they once belittled, now walk with serenity they can never reach. An empath who has survived becomes living proof that a person can walk through hell and still discover heaven within. They become a light bearer, needing few words. Their very presence is enough for others to feel their strength. And sometimes that presence becomes a mirror for those still hiding behind masks. But you also know, your mission is not to go back and save the narcissist. That is the old trap. Your true mission is to live authentically, so your light becomes proof that healing is real, transformation is real, hope is real. You don't need to announce to the world that you've changed. Every action you take, every peaceful choice you make is your proclamation. You are no longer dragged into emotional games. You no longer abandon yourself for counterfeit love. Now, you love without needing to prove. You live without needing permission. You exist as one who has gone through spiritual death and emerged in new light. And if there is an image to describe the empath after absorbing darkness and surviving, it is the image of a flame that was once small, at times nearly extinguished, but now burns fiercely untouchable. This flame not only lights your own path, but warms those still shivering in the dark. So the answer to the question, who does the empath become after walking through the narcissist, is this: they become the living symbol of rebirth. They are proof that even when suffocated by shadow, light will always find a way to break through, and once it does, it will never fade again. My dear friend, the journey of an empath after surviving a narcissist is not just a story of pain, it is a story of transformation. From a heart once suffocated, now emerges a flame that cannot be extinguished. From a soul once torn apart, now rises a symbol of rebirth. You have learned that darkness cannot define you, it can only test you. Wounds do not make you weaker, they carve into you the strength you never knew you had. And loss does not strip away your worth, it only forces you to look within and see that you never needed validation from anyone but yourself. When an empath survives, they no longer seek love to fill the void. They become that love. Love for themselves, love for truth, love for freedom. And from this love they shine, drawing healthy relationships, genuine people, and values that endure. What the narcissist fears most is not losing you, it is realizing you no longer need them. When you walk away with peace in your heart, you prove to the world and to yourself that you are stronger than any manipulation. And you, right now, are the living proof of a timeless truth. Even in the deepest darkness, light will always find a way to break through. So hold on to that light, nurture it, and never again allow anyone to extinguish it. You are not just a survivor. You have become a free soul, a matured heart, a human being no longer bound by the illusions or masks of others. If what I've shared resonates with you, if you wish to continue walking this healing journey, hit subscribe now. Because here we will keep shining light into the hidden corners, stepping out of the darkness together, and cultivating the strength to live a life of peace and meaning. And stay with us for the videos to come. For each lesson, each story will be another brick in building the bridge that leads you back to your freest self. You have walked through fire. Now rise with your new wings, and never forget, you are not alone.